Remember when Christmas specials were pure magic, filled with hand-drawn snowflakes, talking toys, and heartwarming songs? The 1960s and 70s gave us some of the most unforgettable holiday cartoons ever made. But over time, many of these classics quietly vanished, were banned, forgotten, or simply lost to history. Today, we're taking a nostalgic journey back to those hidden treasures, the 24 Christmas cartoons from the golden age of animation that you'll never see again. Some disappeared for surprising reasons, and others, well, might just be too strange for modern audiences. Join us in this video as we reveal them. Number 24, A Charlie Brown Christmas. 1965. There's something beautifully simple about A Charlie Brown Christmas. A tiny tree, soft jazz in the background, and pauses that let the story breathe. It's the kind of quiet most modern shows wouldn't dare attempt. The real kid voices, the imperfections, even Linus' touching little speech about the true meaning of Christmas, all of it feels deeply human. But over the years, the rights bounced from one network to another, then to streaming services. Some years, it vanished from TV entirely, leaving fans wondering, where did it go? When it does reappear, that final dance feels like pure December joy, a gentle reminder that Christmas doesn't have to be loud to be special. From gentle jazz to snowy wonder, who could ever forget that glowing red light? Stay tuned to find out more. Number 23, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. 1964. That Christmas night, the fog was so thick it seemed to swallow the world. The wind howled, sleigh bells rang faintly, and then, through the murky white, a red light flickered. Small, trembling, but bright like a promise. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer wasn't just a cartoon. It was a fable wrapped in tinsel and truth. Marked for his glowing nose, Rudolph ran away with Hermie the elf and Yukon Cornelius, a gold-chasing prospector with a heart of gold. Together, they found the island of misfit toys, a place where broken toys and imperfect souls were still worthy of love. And when that Christmas Eve fog rolled in, it was Rudolph's light, the very thing that made him different, that guided Santa's sleigh through the night. Still remembering that little room, the soft yellow lamp glow, the smell of pine needles and cocoa, and the hum of an old TV filling the air. The stop-motion figures moved clumsily but felt alive. It wasn't about shiny gifts or perfect families. It was about kindness for the forgotten, hope for the outcast. But like Rudolph himself, the special began to fade. Networks trimmed scenes, shifted air times, and sometimes skipped it altogether. One year, it aired late, another not at all. No goodbye, no reason, just silence. Slowly, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer became a ghost in the broadcast lineup, its glowing nose dimmed behind corporate rights and changing tastes. Now, it lives mostly in memories and old film reels, where that red light still flickers faintly. Some say in the restored version, if you watch closely, Rudolph's nose lingers just a second longer, as if it's still out there, trying to guide us home. And sometimes, on quiet winter nights, I wonder, if Rudolph stepped out of the fog this year, would we still recognize his light? Who knows? From Rudolph's glowing nose to a silent pink smile, can Christmas still whisper without words? Let's find out. Number 22, A Pink Christmas. 1978. Back in the day, the Pink Panther Christmas special brought something completely different to holiday TV. No chatter, no chaos, just the Panther strolling through snowy streets with that smooth Henry Mancini jazz playing softly beneath each scene. It was clever, calm, and quietly funny, the kind of cartoon that let you breathe between laughs. But as Christmas specials grew louder and faster, this one slowly faded from the spotlight. Now, it only surfaces once in a while on old DVDs or obscure channels. Finding it feels like unwrapping a small, secret gift, cool, pink, and perfectly mellow for a winter's night. But what happens when one creature tries to steal Christmas? Keep watching to find out. Number 21. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. 1966. Not everyone remembers that eerie Christmas night when a creature with golden eyes stared down from his mountain cave at Whoville below. His grin was sharp as a knife, his voice dripping with mischief, and every snowy step echoed like winter's fading heartbeat. How the Grinch Stole Christmas wasn't just another cartoon. It was a strange, poetic shadow on the bright face of holiday cheer. Boris Karloff's voice, half sinister, half sad, read Dr. Seuss's verses like a lullaby for the lost. Up on that mountain, poor Max the dog strained against the sleigh piled high with stolen gifts, while the Grinch smirked, certain he'd silenced Christmas forever. But when dawn broke and Whoville sang anyway, no presents, no roast beast, just pure joy, something inside him cracked. The moment his heart grew 3 sizes wasn't just a cartoon miracle. It was forgiveness drawn in green and snow. Years later, networks trimmed scenes, added dubs, and brightened colors. Some called it too old-fashioned, too weird, too somber for modern kids. But for those who remember that shadowed cave and the faint hum of Whoville's song, it wasn't just a tale about stealing gifts. It was about finding grace in the cold. A reminder that even the loneliest heart can thaw when it hears love rising through the snow. When the carols fade to coins and shadows, who dares to count the cost of Christmas? Let's find out. Number 20. The Stingiest Man in Town, 1978. Once Upon a TV Christmas. A Christmas Carol wasn't just told, it was sung. This version turned Dickens' classic into a grand musical, with glowing candles, sweeping choirs, and a singing Scrooge sharing the stage with tuneful ghosts. It felt like Broadway had stepped right into the living room, filling it with warmth and wonder. But as years passed, television changed. Networks wanted quicker, catchier specials that fit tight schedules, and this long, melodic gem faded into the background. Today, it's rarely aired, maybe tucked away on an old DVD or in a holiday marathon. Still, for those who remember, it remains a golden December memory that hums softly in the past. Number 19. A Christmas Carol, 1971. A Christmas Carol wasn't made to comfort, it was made to haunt. Directed by Richard Williams, the short film turned Dickens' classic into something darkly beautiful, drenched in shadow and dread. Alastair Sim returned to voice Scrooge, 2 decades after his famous live-action role, his voice trembling with age and regret. The animation looked like it had been etched in candlelight, long, trembling shadows, and flickering Victorian streets that felt more ghost story than holiday cheer. Williams spent 3 painstaking years crafting just 25 minutes of art, inspired by Victorian engravings and the haunting works of Gustave Doré. When it aired, viewers were stunned, and some frightened. ABC received letters saying it was too grim for children, especially the scene where Marley's ghost wails from the dark. Though it won an Oscar for Best Animated Short, networks soon tucked it away, choosing the safer sparkle of Rudolph and Frosty instead. By the mid-70s, it had vanished almost entirely, whispered about only among animation fans. Today, if you want to see this lost masterpiece, you have to hunt through specialty archives and rare collections. But if you do find it, you'll discover what Christmas once was, not all joy and jingles, but redemption found in the chill of a ghost's breath and the flicker of a single, saving candle. The ghosts of Christmas fade, and in their place, a new legend stays. Who was Santa before the sleigh bells began to ring? Stay tuned to find out. Number 18. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. 1970. Before Santa became the jolly figure we all know, there was a young man named Chris, with blonde hair, bright eyes, and a heart full of hope. In Santa Claus is Coming to Town, he sets out across icy mountains with a sack of toys and a dream to bring joy to children who'd been forgotten. Each step crunches against snow so real you could almost feel it, each stop-motion frame glowing with handmade care. But trouble lurks in the frosty air, the stained Bägermeister banning toys, frowning on joy itself. The narrator's voice wrapped around the story like a blanket, telling how one act of kindness in a snowstorm became the legend of Santa Claus. You could feel warmth in the cold, belief in every flicker of that claymation fire. But as time passed, networks trimmed it down, shifted it around, and finally tucked it away. They said it was too slow, too long, too gentle for today's fast screens. Maybe so. But if you ever see Chris giving that first toy in a blizzard, you'll know some stories don't age. They live quietly in the heart, powered by faith, not speed. But what happens when the magic of Christmas is seen through alien eyes? Keep watching to find out. Number 17. A Cosmic Christmas, 1977. Long before CGI or high-tech holiday magic, a small Canadian studio called Nelvana gave us something beautifully strange. A Cosmic Christmas. 3 glowing aliens named Pluto, Lexicon, and Amalthor follow a mysterious star signal all the way to Earth, hoping to understand the meaning behind it. Instead of angels or wise men, they find a homeless boy named Peter and his loyal goose, Lucy, living in a junkyard under flickering city lights. The animation was unlike anything else, real, textured backgrounds mixed with stylized, almost dreamlike characters. It felt both cold and warm at once, like Christmas seen through another planet's eyes. Beneath its quiet pacing, the story carried big ideas: compassion over greed, kindness over comfort, and a plea for the fragile Earth the aliens couldn't quite understand. When CBC aired it in the late 70s, it became a quiet favorite for a few years. But its thoughtful tone and slow rhythm didn't fit American TV's flashier style. By the mid-80s, it disappeared. No reissues, no reruns, just whispers of a broadcast that once asked what Christmas might mean to someone seeing it for the first time. Today, A Cosmic Christmas is nearly impossible to find. But if you ever do, you'll feel it. That strange, glowing stillness that makes the universe seem just a little kinder. Number 16. The Bear Who Slept Through Christmas, 1973. In this 1973 special, most bears are tucked away hibernating, but not this one. Teddy Bear heads into the big city, chasing the idea of Christmas instead of sleep. He rides the subway, gazes through glowing store windows, and wanders streets filled with steam vents and roasted chestnut carts. Some people think it was banned, but really, it just drifted out of the holiday lineup. Rights changed hands, networks shifted, and new specials took its place. Watching it felt like peeking through a frosty window at a warm celebration, tender, a little lonely, and filled with quiet wonder. So, when faith meets loss under a Bethlehem sky, can even heartbreak become holy? Keep watching to find out. Number 15. The Small One, 1978. Before the Land Before Time, or An American Tale, animator Don Bluth quietly created one of Disney's most emotional Christmas stories, The Small One. Set in ancient Judea, it follows a poor boy forced to sell his aging donkey, Small One, in the bustling markets of Nazareth. The dusty streets, cruel merchants, and fading sunlight give the film a rare authenticity for Disney. Raw, human, and heartbreakingly gentle. The boy speaks little. His pain is carried in the animation, trembling hands, and a tear glinting in the desert light. In the end, Small One is bought not for burden or hide, but to carry Mary to Bethlehem. It's a simple revelation, yet one that turns sorrow into grace. At just 26 minutes, The Small One didn't fit TV schedules, too long for shorts, too quiet for kids' blocks. Some stations found it too sad, too religious, too honest. So, Disney shelved it. No big announcement. No reruns. Just gone. Today, The Small One stands as a forgotten masterpiece, a story about love, loss, and faith that dared to whisper instead of sing. Number 14. Frosty the Snowman, 1969. A cold wind swept across the schoolyard. Snow spun in lazy circles, and then, almost by magic, an old silk hat landed on a snowman's head. With one touch, Frosty opened his eyes, smiled, and said his first words, "Happy birthday." It was simple, pure, and full of wonder, like a nursery rhyme come to life. Children ran hand in hand with Frosty through the town, chased by a greedy magician desperate to reclaim his hat. Snow thickened, train whistles echoed, and Frosty began to melt as he helped little Karen reach safety. When he finally disappeared, leaving behind only the hat and his promise to return, the silence that followed was heavy, not sad, but sacred. Years later, Frosty came back in cleaner, edited versions, brighter colors, faster pacing, sharper lines, but something was missing. The warmth, the softness, That delicate belief that a smile, even as fleeting as breath on glass, could light up an entire winter. Do you remember the last time you believed in something that simple and that beautiful? Let us know in the comments section below. Number 13. The Night the Animals Talked, 1970. On the first Christmas Eve, something miraculous happened. The animals in the stable began to speak. That was the heart of The Night the Animals Talked, a forgotten ABC special based on an old European legend. Suddenly, the donkey, ox, and sheep could talk and immediately began to argue. Each believed they were the most important to the Holy Family. Rendered in Gay and Wilson's raw, earthy animation, the story wasn't about magic. It was about pride and humility. As the animals witnessed the birth of Christ, they realized their worth didn't come from boasting, but from service. It was quiet, strange, and deeply human beneath the fur and hay. Religious groups debated its message, children found it puzzling, and its primitive animation couldn't compete with flashier shows. After only 2 airings, ABC let the rights expire. No reruns, no home release. Today, The Night the Animals Talked survives mostly in whispers, a humble reminder that even in the simplest fables, grace speaks softly. As the noise of modern cheer grew louder, did we forget how to listen to its quietest voice? Stay tuned to find out. Number 12. The Night Before Christmas, 1968. This 1968 version of The Night Before Christmas feels like a classic storybook softly coming alive. The lines shimmer, the stockings sway, and the ticking clock whispers hush. There are no flashy characters or merchandise tie-ins, just the timeless poem brought to life with gentle art and soothing music. That's part of its beauty, and also why it vanished. Without a big brand behind it, it was quietly pushed aside by Rudolph, Frosty, and the Grinch. These days, you might find it hidden in an old collection or dusty VHS tape. It's simple, charming, and pure, a snow-dusted memory from a softer Christmas past. Number 11. The Tiny Tree, 1975. Once upon a snowy hill stood the tiny tree, small, crooked, and ashamed. Around her, tall pines glittered with perfection while woodland creatures laughed at her awkward branches. But when a lonely girl stumbled upon the tree, something changed. In her gentle eyes, the little tree finally saw its worth. Hallmark brought this tender story to life with watercolor-like animation. Every frame looked like a Christmas card breathing softly. Janet Waldo and Don Messick gave voice to kindness, while Buddy Baker's score wrapped the story in quiet magic. NBC aired it for just 3 years, but its gentle heart couldn't compete with louder, flashier specials. Hallmark soon returned to live-action dramas, leaving the tiny tree to fade away, its film reels slowly deteriorating. Today, few remember it, but for those who do, it's a whisper of a time when Christmas stories didn't need sparkle, just sincerity. But in a season that now chases sparkle over stillness, would anyone stop long enough to hear those whispers again? Let's find out. Number 10. Frosty's Winter Wonderland, 1976. Frosty bowed shyly to Crystal, the snow girl who shimmered beneath a lamplight's glow. The air sparkled, music chimed like mittens brushing together, and for a moment, the world seemed to stop. This sequel didn't try to outdo the original, it simply tried to warm it. No villains, no races against time, just love unfolding quietly in the snow. When Crystal touched Frosty's cheek, the snowflakes melted, and everything felt soft, still, and true. It was the kind of tenderness TV used to make space for. But over the years, networks favored the brighter, louder original, leaving this gentle follow-up to drift away like snow in spring. Still, if you ever find it, maybe late at night, maybe on an old tape, listen closely. Beneath the hush of winter, it whispers, happiness isn't grand, it's a promise in cold wind, a hand held in snowfall. Number 9. The City That Forgot About Christmas, 1974. In a gray city where carolers fell silent and decorations were outlawed, a boy named Max still believed. With only his dog and a heart full of stories, he whispered Christmas back into the world. Brick by brick, light by light, faith began to flicker again. produced by a small Lutheran television team. This special dared to ask what happens when Christmas loses its soul. Its modest animation flickered between rough simplicity and moments of startling beauty, especially during the nativity scenes that glowed like candlelight. Networks shied away. Too religious for some, not festive enough for others. Yet beneath its recycled animation cells and humble voice work was something rare: sincerity. The city that forgot about Christmas faded into regional reruns and then silence. But if you ever find a copy, you'll see, even when a city forgets, one small voice can still remind the world what the season means. Keep watching to find out the next Christmas cartoon on the list. Number 8. Nestor, the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey, 1977. At first, Nestor, the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey, seems funny, a tiny donkey with ears far too long. But then the wind rises, the desert turns cold, and suddenly the laughter fades. The sand sparkles like sugar, the stars hang low, and Nestor's journey becomes something deeply touching. His flaw turns out to be his greatest gift, carrying a message that's both tender and bittersweet. Maybe that's why it slowly disappeared from TV. Some stations preferred lighter, cheerier specials. Now, it mostly lives on in-ray DVD bundles or online clips. If you find it again, watch it gently. It's soft, honest, and quietly brave. Number 7. Christmas is 1970. Before holiday specials sparkled with pop songs and celebrity cameos, Christmas is tried something quieter. Benji, a curious boy, and his loyal dog Waldo set out to understand what Christmas really means. Each scene felt like a classroom lesson wrapped in a cartoon, as priests, shepherds, and even Santa offered their answers. The animation jumped between beauty and clumsiness, hand-painted backdrops one moment, scribbled figures the next. CBS aired it once, then quietly shifted it to Saturday mornings, where it flickered and vanished. It wasn't flashy or funny, but buried beneath the awkward pacing was something honest, a child's pure question: what is Christmas, really? Asked long before the season became about sales and spectacle. But when a single drumbeat can move hearts more than any carol, what does that say about the true sound of Christmas? Let's find out. Number 6. The Little Drummer Boy, 1968. Let me go. Don't you hear me? Let me go. The boy's cry cut through the desert wind, raw with fear and loss. On the screen, a storm of sand and firelight swirled around him, a child clutching an old drum, the last thing he had in a world that had taken everything else. The clay towns, the rope bridges, the flicker of flames, it all felt real, sacred, and haunting. The Little Drummer Boy wasn't a glittery Christmas tale. There were no reindeer, no sleigh bells, no jingles, just a boy, a drum, and a heart open to grace. When he knelt before the manger, offering the only gift he could give, his music, the air in the room turned still. Maybe it was too solemn for modern TV. Too quiet, too raw, too human. Networks pushed it aside for brighter, lighter specials. But for those who saw it, it never left. Each beat of that small drum reminds us that miracles don't always arrive in gold or glitter. Sometimes, they come in rhythm, humility, and a single, trembling note of love. Number 5. The Little Drummer Boy, Book 2, 1976. Drums rolled through the desert wind, each beat slow and heavy, like a boy's heart clinging to fading faith. It was a last gift my father left me. His voice rasped, thick with sand and sorrow, as the drumsticks burned in a campfire's glow. In The Little Drummer Boy, Book 2, the young boy returns, carrying a new drum and a burdened heart, racing through stone gates and crowded markets to bring peace to a world that had forgotten how to listen. The clay figures move carefully, their shadows stretching long across the walls, flickering in the light of oil lamps. The music, soft guitars, faint choral hums, the steady pulse of a drum, filled the room like a prayer. This sequel wasn't gentle or sweet like the first. It spoke of loss, courage, and the hard kind of hope that survives when miracles seem gone. The moment the boy knelt in the sand, his drumbeats fading into silence, was so sorrowful it felt almost too real. The melody was a goodbye. Networks kept airing the cheerful first story but quietly tucked this one away. Never banned, just forgotten. Yet, if you ever find an old copy and listen closely, you'll still hear it, faint, far away. The echo of a boy's drum across the desert night, waiting for the world to pause and listen again. Can small acts of faith truly reach the impossible? Let's find out. Number 4. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, 1974. In Junctionville, even the air seemed nervous. Santa wasn't coming. A single letter, printed in the town paper, had called him a myth, and the jolly man took it to heart. Letters were returned unopened, sleigh bells silenced. That's when Father Mouse and clockmaker Joshua Trundle decided to build something impossible. A clock that could sing a song strong enough to reach the North Pole. But inside that clock, a tiny mind of logic, young Albert Mouse, doubted magic. His tinkering broke the gears and hope along with them. The townspeople turned bitter, and the snow fell heavily. Then one night, Albert crept back to the workshop, hands trembling, heart racing. He fixed what he'd broken. When the clock finally chimed through the frozen night, the song carried like forgiveness itself. Rankin obeisses, 'twas the night before Christmas wasn't about toys or elves. It was about belief, about how one small act can turn doubt into wonder. CBS ran it for 2 decades, then it drifted from screens like a snowflake in warm air. But if you ever hear a distant chime on Christmas Eve, maybe it's Junctionville's song still playing, reminding Santa, and us, that faith sometimes comes from the smallest hands. Number 3. A Christmas Carol, 1971. London, 1843. A city wrapped in fog and regret. In a dimly lit room, Ebenezer Scrooge sat counting coins while the world outside froze. But that year, something different stirred. Richard Williams' A Christmas Carol brought Dickens' tale to life with shadows sharper than memory and animation that breathed like candlelight. Alistair Sim returned to voice Scrooge, his tone trembling between cruelty and sorrow, while Michael Horton's Marley howled through the gloom, a ghost you could almost feel beside you. Williams' hand-drawn lines twisted and flickered like gaslight, echoing Victorian engravings and Doors' haunted etchings. The result wasn't a cozy Christmas story but a fever dream, salvation born from terror. Miners sang beneath the earth, sailors hummed across black seas, and Scrooge's redemption felt like the world itself had exhaled. It won an Oscar, then vanished from broadcast rotation, dismissed as too frightening for children. But maybe that's what made it unforgettable. A Christmas Carol wasn't about comfort, it was about awakening. And sometimes, Christmas needs a ghost or two to remind us what it means to be human. From shadows that haunted Scrooge to the frantic antics of a certain carrot-munching rabbit, can the chaos of laughter ever capture the weight of Christmas itself? Stay tuned to find out. Number 2. Bugs Bunny's Looney Christmas Tales, 1979. By 1979, Warner Brothers wanted a Christmas hit, something to put Bugs, Daffy, and the gang back on holiday TV screens. What we got was Bugs Bunny's Looney Christmas Tales, a mix of news stories stitched together like a gift wrapped in leftover paper. Bugs donned Scrooge's top hat in a chaotic take on A Christmas Carol, with Yosemite Sam blustering his way through redemption. Tweety and Sylvester sparred over Christmas gifts, and the Roadrunner zipped across icy cliffs. But the magic felt off. The animation was flatter, the pacing slower, and Mel Blanc's once sparkling voices carried the wear of decades. The energy, that anarchic, wild brilliance, was gone. Even Chuck Jones, the Looney Tunes legend himself, criticized it, calling out the dull visuals and lifeless timing. CBS aired it once to decent ratings, but the laughs didn't linger. Without heart, without melody, without that spark of chaos that once defined the Looney Tunes, it quietly slid into the vault. And that's the strange truth. Even Bugs Bunny couldn't save Christmas when the spirit was missing behind the slapstick. Number 1. Raggedy Ann and Andy in the Great Santa Claus Caper, 1978. In 1978, animation legend Chuck Jones tried to remind the world that Christmas wasn't for sale. Raggedy and Andy and the Great Santa Claus caper brought the iconic dolls to life against a sharp-toothed foe named Alexander the Rat, a slick hustler plotting to mass-produce brittle, disposable toys. Profits overjoy. Jonesy's hand was unmistakable. Every gesture, every blink, every exaggerated chase brimmed with that Looney Tunes precision, elastic yet elegant. Dawes Butler gave the rat his deliciously villainous charm, while June Foray filled the cast with heart and warmth. Beneath the jokes, though, was a bold critique of consumerism, and that's where things got complicated. CBS ate it twice. Ratings were fine, not great. Kids found it too serious. Parents called it preachy. And toy companies, they weren't thrilled about an anti-commercial Christmas special based on, ironically, toys. Without sponsors, reruns died fast. Jones later admitted the Raggedy and property felt like a creative cage, too soft, too careful. Yet even in its contradictions, the film glows with craft and conscience. So, what do you think about these classic Christmas cartoons from the 1960s and 70s? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.